I do look at the comments. I just wanted to throw that out there. Yesterday, AJ, you weren't here, but I don't even know if I brought this up to Kratz. There was a Mets fan in the chat who said, F you, but the real words to Kratz, and he's denying it right now today in the chat, but I saw it. I'm not crazy. And I put him in timeout, just a 24-hour timeout, and now he's back because he said he wouldn't be silenced. And I said, you will be silenced if you're not nice. We have a very active chat, a great community, and we like to go back and forth. Sometimes AJ does it too. We'll go back and forth. Sometimes a little trollish. Sometimes we don't like what you say. Often we love what you say, and we love the questions that you ask. But that's the line for me. Just the pure personal attacks is when we do a little timeout.
Hurt my feelings, and I didn't even know about it. But
exactly.
I want to know what I said that made he or she so mad.
Okay. Well, AJ, it was another day for Kratz to question the Mets rotation and their defense to our very guest.
The construction of it.
Which is fine and fair, and I defended you to the death yesterday, not for your comments going forward, but for your comments last year where you ripped the team and you were spot on. The one thing that bothered this particular fan was he said that you had Marcus Semion's age off by 2 years yesterday, and he wants you to get the facts straight. I don't remember that part because I was probably too busy in the chat.
I did. I said his age when he was going to be done with his contract and not his current age. I am sorry, and I'm glad this person is back in the chat because we're ready to get another show going. And the Mets still haven't gotten better since yesterday.
You're a bad human, Kratz. Something wrong.
I have been called worse, and this is why I didn't read the comments when I played, because it really affected me.
He said he's going against me, and he is right, technically, but we're in the same ballpark here. He said he didn't say F you to you. He just called you the F word goon. I'm like, goon? I think that's a little much. Goon is fine, but it was fine. F word goon.
I'll deal with goon, buffoon, bald, terrible player.
Goof.
Goof? Oh, I love the word goof.
You put
you
goof
call me
in
a
there
goof.
too.
You big goof.
We just want to get along. That's all. We can disagree all day, but we'd like to get along.
Nicely.
Who cares? Stephen A. Smith the other day went on a rant about how the defensive coordinator, and he wasn't even the defensive coordinator. He had prostate cancer all year. He just came out and said, "See, I was right. I knew." Difference between knowing and saying it right is different. So Kratz, just go with that defense. Just say, you know what, I knew, but I just didn't say it properly. So I'm fine.
I won't. I will definitely say when I made a mistake. So welcome back, chat. Let's get it today.
Exactly. Thank you. Stephen A. watched some sports, not baseball. He doesn't really talk about baseball, so we won't make fun of him too much. Only 3 times a year when he does bring up our sport. Let's charge.
He's charging the mound.
Today we're going to spend some time going over potential trade candidates between now and opening day. So Jim Bowden put out his list of the top 7 in terms of talent. It doesn't mean that they're going to get traded. In fact, we might not see any of these players get traded, but he listed Skubal, Ketel Marte, Jarren Duran, CJ Abrams, Sandy Alcantara, Brendan Donovan, and Luis Severino on there. Again, not that they're necessarily going to get traded. We know that the Diamondbacks came out publicly, AJ, and said we're not trading Ketel Marte. JB doesn't quite believe them. He thinks that the asking price wasn't met, and if suddenly there's a spring training injury or some type of issue for a team, they might call them back and try to make it happen. I don't want to make this just about Ketel, but your overall thoughts on the list, and do you think anyone on there actually could get dealt between now and call it March 1st?
CJ Abrams would have been the one for me, but then they just asked and they got rebuked because they asked for too much. Skubal, after talking to him at the BBWAA on Saturday and talking to Hinch and everybody else involved, he's not getting traded unless something crazy happens because they're ready for arbitration. And AJ Hinch was talking about how he's throwing 100 already, and he told him to calm down because they need him for the long haul. Marte, they've already tried, didn't happen. Jarren Duran, possibly, but if I'm the Red Sox, I wait because I want to see what kind of year I'm having. Sandy, you need him to come out and get off to a hot start. Then you trade him to a contender. Donovan, yes, but why haven't they traded him already? That's my question with Donovan. And then Severino, I think the A's want to see how they start also before they make that move. Okay, I'll say Donovan, and Abrams would be the two on this list. But why hasn't Donovan been traded? And we just heard that CJ Abrams was close, but they wanted too much for him. So I'm going to say 0 before opening day.
I like what you're saying as your secondary, though. I don't think there's any, but if it happens, it's the second base market. Why? Because there are at least 2, if not 3 or 4 teams that could use a second baseman right now. Seattle, for sure. San Francisco, for sure. I would say Boston should be on that list, and then I'm probably missing some other because I'm just riffing off the top of my head. I'm with you. Abrams, the asking price is going to be high. Donovan, the asking price should be a little bit lower. Two very different players, but also Donovan's for 2 years. CJ Abrams is for 3 years. There's a difference in control there. They have very different pluses and minuses. Abrams actually needs to improve on the plate discipline on base percentage side, and that's the one spot that Donovan has to a T. I think he was 361 on base last year. Kratz, what do you think about this list?
I think the list, I'd go back to what Joel Sherman, if you guys didn't see, Joel Sherman was on the show after the BBWAAs, and he was talking about the Mets and how like the first domino had to fall with Nimmo. I feel like Jarren Duran on this list is very similar. The first domino has to fall for the Red Sox. The Red Sox either need a second baseman or a third baseman. I think Marcelo Meyer, they think, could fit into one of those. And I think if they would get a Eugenio Suarez, if they would get maybe possibly you get Isaac Paredes from the Astros. There's obviously possibilities there. For third base, it pushes a Meyer to second, and then maybe now they got that right-handed bat. They're okay getting rid of Duran. They're okay trading for one last upgrade at that second base position if Meyer's not going to play there. Or if they don't get one of those guys, Meyer plays third, and they get that upgrade. So I think Jarren Duran, I just felt like there's a lot of smoke before, and I don't think that smoke went away. I think there's still fire there, and I don't think the Red Sox are done yet. I think they've made their one free agent splash with Suarez, Ron Hare, and now I think they could move him because I don't think they want to move Abreu, and they're obviously not moving Roman Anthony out of their outfield.
There might be some prospect pieces that move as part of that too, but AJ, do you like the complexion of an Isaac Paredes to help the infield logjam moving over to Boston, where there's a very, very primary need at third base or second to an extent? Or, and then Duran goes the other way to Houston. I know we're going to talk to Chandler Rome later. This was a team where you're looking for a little more action, right?
From who? Boston or from Houston?
Houston. Yeah, technically both, but Houston too, right?
Houston went out and got a Mai. They've done some stuff. They're counting on Alvarez coming back, Christian Walker being back, and Isaac Paredes having an entire year there. So I don't know. They signed an outfielder. Didn't they bring in an outfielder too? I have to look now. Shoot, pretty sure they bring in.
I just don't know where Paredes plays. I just don't know where Paredes plays for the Astros, and I think
with Correa, maybe second base. And they try Altuve left field trick again.
I mean,
he's going to get reps at second. Yeah, that's what they said at FanFest. No, I'm with you. That's what they said at FanFest. They don't want Altuve playing much outfield, but he might play a little bit there. Paredes second. Yes, the way that they're describing things does not make it seem very logical in terms of your best defensive fit. Right now, I'll give you the lineup from Fangraphs against righties. Jeremy Pena, shortstop. Yordan at DH. Second base, Altuve. Third, Correa. Christian Walker at first, Jesus Sanchez, who was terrible for them last year, in right, Yainer Diaz at catcher, Zach Cole in left, Jake Myers in center. They could use a Jarren Duran in the outfield.
They could totally. And I think they need to continue to let Cam Smith eat. He's in his second year. Don't platoon this man. The Astros weren't built on that mega platoon. Yes, they had guys like Marwin Gonzalez who were able to slot in places because he was a switch hitter. But to me, Cam Smith, you got rid of Tucker, give him some leash. Don't make it a right-handed only. Don't let Jesus Sanchez take his at-bats away, whether it's versus right-handers or if he's hot, that type of thing. To me, I think that is – anyway, obviously we're just looking at a projected lineup. I shouldn't have gotten so heated about it.
No, you should, because – I agree with you. When I just read the projected lineup against righties, Paredes and Cam Smith are on the bench. Ideally, those guys should be platoon neutral and be able to play against lefties and righties for sure. So I know they're right-handed bats, but I mean, it's not like they're going to sit every day against righties. It gives you flexibility, but those are starters.
You got to let Cam Smith play.
And Paredes should play every day too, AJ.
And Paredes should be gone.
He's an all-star.
For that, he should be gone. To me, and it's not that they don't want him. I think they made their bed when they traded for Correa. And I know we talked about with Chandler Rome before. I asked him, I was like, did they not think ahead? It was more of like, hey, we're making a run right now, and we're able to get a guy like Carlos Correa back in the fold. We figure it out. Well, now it's figure it out time. And I hate to hear that we kind of played this song and dance last year with Altuve in left, and how did that go? And then, we don't really like him at second, so maybe Paredes will go to set. Like, no, I think there is a clear value with Isaac Paredes, and it may not be that much more added in Paredes for Jarren Duran. So that's why I picked that out of the list, the one that I think is most likely out of the whole list.
I'll end this with this. I mean, the Astros actually go even further back to Christian Walker, and they were shopping him lightly this offseason. At least that's what it seemed like. And they're not going to get a team to bite on much there based off just an okay year. So if you didn't have Walker there, you could slot Paredes at first. Things line up a lot easier for them. But that's not the case. I think Walker's
but we also let's not forget we praised them when they signed Christian Walker.
I like him.
Remember they were coming off Jose Abreu, who was a disaster. They needed some right-handed power. They didn't know that Jordan was going to miss the whole year. They didn't realize that Paredes, once they traded for him, was going to miss a huge chunk of time. So the Christian Walker deal for them made total sense when they did it. And now we're like, we got to get rid of him. Let's pump the brakes. Let's give Christian a chance to have a second year, because his second half was much better than his first half. So let's not just say, Christian Walker's got to go. I disagree on that. I think Christian Walker's in line to have a possible big year.
I agree. Power didn't really go down much. He had 27 homers after he had 26 the year before. It was just the on-base percentage dropped quite a bit for him. He's still one of the best defenders at first base. So I'm with you. I don't think you're going to get much value on the trade market. You should keep that man and let him play first base for you for the next couple of years. Let's get to Ken. We're hitting the inside scoop with FT Senior Insider, Ken Rosenthal. I'm going to bring up a name that we talk about a lot during the regular season. He's fun to watch, but Ken, I've barely heard a lick about him this offseason. Where in the world could Luis Arraez sign?
Not exactly sure, Scott, and it's almost February, and you're right, we have not heard much about him. It doesn't mean things are not going on behind the scenes, but Arraez is a guy who is really the most fascinating free agent in so many ways. Obviously, he has what they call the hit tool. He can hit for average. That is the thing he does extraordinarily well. The rest of his game is the problem. And we're talking about defense, of course, and we're talking about power. He has no power in an age when basically you need power, and his defense, whether it's second or first, is not at an average level at this stage of his career. So there are spots I can imagine him being. The Giants are still looking for a second baseman. I don't know that they would want to compromise their infield defense in that way, but maybe they would. And then I know you guys have talked about the Blue Jays a little bit. I don't really see that. It seems to me their infield is pretty set, but I would imagine he's going to get a deal somewhere. It's not going to be a very financially lucrative deal, and it's going to be almost a prove-it year for him, which is kind of weird because he is a player who has proven it, but I just don't see a huge market for him right now.
That's crazy, Ken. That's crazy. So is this a case of not only does he not have power, but he also can't run, right? So he doesn't steal bases. He doesn't really have a position. So he only has basically one tool. He can hit for average and doesn't strike out. And that's basically his only tool. So teams are saying, hey, we value power. We value slug, obviously, which are kind of the same thing. We value speed or defense. You have to have more than one thing to get the lucrative deal, because if you just have the one, unless maybe you're a pitcher that can throw 105 miles an hour, then they're like, we'll overlook it, right? But as an offensive player, you have to have more than one tool to get the big contract you think you deserve.
AJ, that is a fair assessment. And it's hard to say that about Luis Ariz because he's one of my favorites. He is a favorite of a lot of people. He is fun to watch. But at the same time, the deficiencies in his game are pretty big deficiencies. And let's look at it from another perspective. Let's say he was a player who was a really, really strong defender, but couldn't hit at all. What would that player be worth on the open market? Probably not much. So I'm thinking of a guy like Nick Ahmed. Okay, Nick Ahmed was a one-dimensional guy in many ways, a gifted fielder, and a guy who contributed to a lot of good teams, but it was a struggle for him latter part of his career because he really was a one-trick guy, and that's kind of how teams see Arise. Yes.
Is his defense at second base, is it that it's that poor, or it's that he hasn't played that much of it? Because when he was with the Padres recently, they were deploying him more at first base. So the Giants' fear of his lack of experience in the last few years, or is it just that they see his foot speed and the way he moves around the bag isn't going to be enough for them?
I can't speak specifically to the Giants, and what I was saying about them was kind of speculative, Eric. They need a second baseman, so naturally you would think perhaps he's a possibility. And the Athletics' Andrew Baggerly has mentioned him as a possibility there. It's pretty much the only mention I've seen of him. You ask, is the problem that he hasn't played it, or is the problem that he didn't play it well? Well, the reason he hasn't played it is because he wasn't playing it well, and kind of both things go together. So it probably is a stretch to imagine him as a full-time second baseman at this stage of his career. Again, maybe he's someone you bounce around a little bit. I'm not exactly sure. Maybe he DHs a little bit, but from your DH, you would want more power. So it's kind of a difficult puzzle to solve if you're trying to fit him onto your 26-man roster.
Jeez, Ken, what came first, the chicken or the egg, right? No power equals no playing. You can't play second, but you don't get to play. It's great. It's like when you're a young kid and they bring you up and you're a left-handed hitter and they say, well, you can't hit lefties. Well, how do you know? I hit lefties in the minor leagues. I've hit lefties my whole life, but now I'm in the big leagues. I can't hit lefties. Like, give me a shot. But anyways, we're going to move on from Luis Ariz because I love him. I know Scott loves him. I don't know about Kratz. Kratz was a homer nothing guy, but I love Luis Ariz. I think he's great for the game, and we need to get back to a little more of that. But I'm off my soapbox. We just talked about trades, the names that are supposed to be traded: Sandy Alcantara, C.J. Abrams, Jarren Duran. Which one of these guys do you think is most likely to be traded? Brandon Donovan, maybe before opening day?
I still believe the Cardinals are going to trade Donovan. And it seems that, well, not seems, it's obvious that their bar has not been hit. The standard that they set for the return they want for Brendan Donovan just hasn't come their way. But you still have the Giants, who we just talked about, looking at second base. The Mariners are another team, and there are others as well that have been linked to Brendan Donovan. Kansas City was interested at one time, doesn't seem to be a match there. So it seems to me that he is the guy that the Cardinals are going to move at some point. There's not much question about that. The question is when, and do they get their desired return in time before the season starts to make that move. So I still see him as the most likely simply because he's been out there so long. C.J. Abrams, it's possible, but they have time to trade him. He has 3 years of control. The Duran thing, the Red Sox have insisted repeatedly that they're comfortable going with all of their outfielders, but one of their outfielders could be the guy to get them a piece like Paredes, who you've discussed. So I don't exactly know which one, of course, is going to get traded. But I would say because Donovan has been discussed so heavily that he would be a guy that it seems to me would at some point go.
What kind of message did the Nats send this offseason to their fans? Obviously, we get it. They're turning over their coaches. They're turning over their general manager. They traded Juan Soto for James Wood, Mackenzie Gore, C.J. Abrams, Robert Hassel, who's in the big leagues now this past year, and Harlan Sasana. Okay, so it's 5 guys, yep. 4 of which are currently on their big league team, 3 of which really had major impacts on their big league team, and they're talking about only keeping James Wood so far. What kind of, wasn't that the reason, build around them during that time? And so what kind of message does that send?
Eric, here's the lesson. And these teams go into these rebuilding plans, 5-year plans, 4-year plans, whatever it might be. They tell you, trust the process, trust us here. Now, sometimes it works quite well. And we've seen countless examples. I would say Detroit is an example right now of one that is working well. They've got some really good young players in the big leagues, and they've got Max Clark and Kevin McGonigal coming. They're two of the top 10 prospects in the game. But then there are the Nationals. And I would even suggest that there are other teams along these lines too. The Reds have not ever really gotten back to where they wanted to when they started their rebuild. But the Nats were a clear rebuild when they traded Soto. And now they're on phase two because they've traded a key player from that deal, Mackenzie Gore. And again, the lesson is, doesn't always work. Doesn't always work the way you want it. And even when it does work at some points, let's look at the Orioles, for example. The Orioles rebuild did work. They got to the playoffs back-to-back years, and yet they were unable to take the next step because they were not aggressive enough in free agency, whatever you might want to describe. They didn't put a good enough big league team together. So when fans are sold this bill of goods, hey, trust us, it's going to be okay. It's not always okay. Often it is. And you can understand, for instance, what the Cardinals are doing right now. In their case, it's overdue. But is it guaranteed that in 5 years the Cardinals will be back to where they were? Not at all. No way.
Another person that has been rumored to be traded but wasn't last year, Sandy Alcantara. Could he be the one that goes into the season and has Ken's going to answer how many starts it's going to be and then bang, be traded? Like, is that where they're looking? Like, as soon as he looks hot, he could be like an early June type of trade.
I'm not sure, Eric. And actually, I discussed this on Fair Territory yesterday. They've already traded two starting pitchers, Edward Cabrera and Ryan Weathers. Part of their logic there is that they have prospects like Thomas White coming, and they want to give them enough of a runway to have opportunity in the major leagues. Good, that's fine. And they did well in those trades, at least they believe they did. With Alcantara, you want to go into the season competing. This is a team that won 79 games last year. It was a pain to play. They were difficult to play. They were kind of the Brewers of the Southeast. Not as good, but they had that kind of mojo about them. Put the ball in play, do some things, play the game fundamentally well. So I don't know that right away their objective is going to be to trade Sandy Alcantara. If indeed they are not in contention and he's pitching well in July, of course, then you entertain it. But I sort of expect them to be at least in wild card contention. Obviously, they're in a difficult division. We all know that. Atlanta will be better. The Mets have retooled. The Phillies are going to be good. They might not be as good as their fans would want them to be, but they'll be good. So we'll see where the Marlins are in July. But I don't know that in spring training they would even entertain this because they do plan on competing at a higher level this season.
Ken, I'm just going to give you a warning now that people in the comments are going to destroy you about saying that the Marlins need to keep Sandy and keep Ryan Weathers and all this because they have apparently the greatest pitching depth in the history of Major League Baseball. When I said Ryan Weathers seems like someone you might want to keep around, I got absolutely destroyed because you don't understand how deep the Marlins pitching staff is. And they named 3 kids, 4 kids, 5 kids, 6 kids, 25 pitchers that are from the complex league to the AAA. So, Ken, just so you know, the Marlins have the greatest conglomeration of pitching prospects ever assembled.
AJ, I would advise you not to look at the comments if you're going to be that sensitive about them. The Marlins do have decent pitching depth. They do have it. And that doesn't mean it's all going to translate into success. We know this. Pitchers get hurt all the time. The Marlins have experienced this with countless pitchers in recent years. But the way they are going about it, the reasons that they traded Cabrera and Weathers, part of it was because they could get good value for them. And the other part was they feel that, as I mentioned, guys like Thomas White are coming and they want those guys to get fair opportunities. So I'm sorry that people are getting upset with you, AJ, but I understand the logic there. I understand why fans of the Marlins are saying that. That is what the Marlins are saying, and that is kind of how they're operating. Obviously, we'll see how it all comes together.
Ken, I saw a smile when you said sorry. And if you say sorry and you smile at the same time, it's not that genuine.
Well, you got me, Eric. What can I say?
Bo Bichette, from Dave Dombrowski's words, was very close to being a Philly. Is there any smoke to the fact that they may have had to trade Bryson Stott or Alec Bowman, could that still be a way that the Phillies maybe add some major piece, or they come into an agreement with like a Eugenio Suarez and then moving Bowman his last year before he's a free agent?
All of those things are possible. And Bowman's a guy they've talked about for over a year now. So that is certainly something that's been in play. But they were going to sign Bichette regardless of whether they had a trade in place for Bowman, in my opinion. I'm not sure of that, but I don't know that they were too worried about Alec Bohm. They wanted Bo Bichette. And yes, they did come close, but it's free agency. Teams do come out of nowhere, and that's what happened with the Mets. The Mets will tell you they didn't come out of nowhere. They were in there the whole time, but the Phillies certainly were not aware of that. And that is how it transpired the way it did. Phillies fans right now, if you read message boards and Twitter or whatever, they're quite upset. They feel that the Mets pulled a fast one on them with Bichette and that Dombrowski did not react well enough or was not aggressive enough in getting that done. But they're going to be a competitive team. Now, can they be better? Yes, they can be better. And in my view, it would have been helpful for them to do a little bit more this offseason simply because I don't want to say it's stale there. They've had a great run, but they're getting older, and you would want a younger position player like a Bichette in the mix. So I can understand the frustration. They're essentially running it back, and that's okay. It's a pretty good roster that they have, but sometimes there is a great amount of value in bringing in new players to kind of bring in new energy. The Dodgers have done that over the years, not just with Tucker. In fact, Tucker's kind of a different kind of move. They've done it with complementary players, guys who might not have been World Series champions elsewhere, but are coming to the Dodgers and are desperate to be in that position. Blake Snell, not a complimentary player, obviously, but that was one reason he signed there. He was hungry to win, and you do need that kind of injection from time to time.
Hey, Ken, we haven't talked about Skubal in a while on the trade front, so I'm going to bring it up again just because it's the hot topic in the chat. At the moment, I do look at the chat and I love it, and I don't get offended. I actually get invigorated from it. But anyway, for Skubal, he's got the arbitration battle coming up with the team. Clearly, they're worlds apart on any kind of extension. This team is going to be contending. They have been worse than the Phillies in terms of running it back. They really haven't added anything besides re-signing Finnegan and signing up Kenley Jansen for the bullpen during a winning window that might close after this year. I'll bring it up again. I know the asking price is sky high. Why go into the season like this? You're basically saying, I'm good. I'm going to let this guy walk for a draft pick after the season.
You do that because you think you can win with him. And certainly they can win the AL Central with him. And they were in position to do that last year. Fell apart, of course. We know that. But while they are running it back, and I'm with you, Scott, they should have done more. They should have done more offensively. They had Gleyber Torres, of course, accept the qualifying offer, and that was part of their offseason equation as well. They are going to mix in some of these kids, and I still question their bullpen. I still think they need another starter. But they're going to be good. So that's why you keep Skubal, because you're trying to win. You don't sign Kyle Finnegan. You don't sign Kenley Jansen unless you're trying to win. Now, it's like anything else. If you get the right offer, the right pieces back that would help you compete this year and beyond, you do it. But what is Erik Skubal's worth? He's one of the best pitchers, if not the best pitcher in the game right now. We just saw Freddie Peralta, a lesser pitcher, go for 2 top 100 prospects. He too is a rental like Skubal. So Skubal would command more than that. He's a back-to-back Cy Young winner, of course. And the other part of the equation is you'd have to take on his $32 million, if it's that, in arbitration for this year. Could be 19, could be 32. Maybe we get a better answer for this after the arbitration case is resolved. Maybe the Tigers are more motivated if they lose and have to pay him $32 million. I don't know. But if that's the Tigers' thinking, he has less value at $32 million than he does at $19 million because teams would be, of course, having to absorb that salary.
Ken, you wrote an article about Brady Anderson, and you and I in New York talked about Brady Anderson, and I told you my one Brady Anderson story, which was, I remember my first big league spring training, he was out running in the outfield in only his sliding shorts, which, by the way, Brady Anderson was jacked, by the way, okay? So I couldn't fault him. But now he's a hitting coach. But I had heard, and people in the Orioles, he has always been around the Orioles. I know he was very close with the Angelos family, but now it's official. He's a hitting coach. Why do we think he'll succeed as a hitting coach when so many others have failed?
AJ, I love saying this to you. You've got to read the story. And I know you did, so thank you for that. But the reason people believe that he will be a successful hitting coach is because he essentially has been a coach for a long time. He was with the Orioles from 2010 to 19 in a front office capacity, but that job was kind of undefined, and that job entailed a lot of coaching. He worked with the hitting coaches, he threw batting practice, he assisted with analytics, he ran their strength and conditioning program, he hosted players in the offseason and helped them train and helped them get better. And there's 3 examples in the article of players who essentially credit him with helping salvage their careers. It's Caleb Joseph, Trey Mancini, and it's Zach Britton as well. Zach Britton, a pitcher, but yes, Brady Anderson played a role in his development as well. Now, we'll see how it works out for him as a full-time coach in uniform all the time, but the players who were with the Orioles during those years, they swear by him. And I noticed this morning, Adam Jones retweeted the article and he said, hey, this guy helped a ton of guys. So that part of it is not in question. And in fact, the Angels have signed Trey Mancini to a minor league deal. They're reuniting him with Anderson, seeing if there's anything left still there. So it's going to be really fascinating to see. Brady Anderson, though, is a guy that has had an impact on players as a coach, and that is why the Angels believe he can have an impact as a full-time guy with them as well.
I think it's funny in the story,
Caleb Joseph.
and you talked about this. What?
Ken and I talked about this. Caleb Joseph has got one of the greatest stats of all time, Kratzy.
No.
He played in 49 games,
No.
132 at-bats, 0 RBIs. He had an OPS plus of 13, Scott. 13. That's what, like, the greatest line. And then he went on and played for like 3 more years. 0 RBIs in 140 plate appearances. You would think you would run up there with the guy on third and down by 10 and just hit a ground ball, and they'd be like, we're going to give him 1 RBI for the season. It's one of the craziest stat lines of all time.
RBIs don't matter, and he took it to heart. Front offices don't care about RBIs, and he said
he was ahead of the curve.
RBIs don't matter. I don't know
was
what
ahead
to
of the
tell
curve.
you. I'm still going to play after this. The last thing I wanted to say on the story, Ken, was how, yes, there was pretty significant shade and smack talk about him after the Orioles situation. It was interesting to see how there was some retraction there based on hurt feelings and who was doing what job, but it didn't have to do as much with the character and the coaching. It had more to do with the politics within the whole thing. Is that a good way to phrase it?
Yes. And Scott, I wrote that story too. That was back in 2017. And one of the reasons I was so compelled to write this one was that in 2016, the Orioles pitching coach was Dave Wallace. Their bullpen coach was Dom Chiti. And they were 2 guys who, after they left the Orioles following that season and went to the Braves, both of them did, they went on the record with me about their frustration with Brady Anderson's vague, undefined role. And their complaint essentially was he had authority without accountability. He had autonomy without accountability. And Dom Chiti said at the time, and did Dave Wallace as well, that one of the reasons they left was because of Brady Anderson. So when the Angels put their staff together, I noticed Dom Chiti was on that staff. So I'm like, whoa, he's now going to work with Brady after what happened? This was a long article I wrote in 2017. I was with FoxSports.com at the time, and there was a lot of tension in that organization about Brady's role. Even though he was helping guys, there were some other things going on. So I asked Dom Chiti, hey, what happened here? Why are you guys okay now? And he said, listen, I kind of misspoke. I was frustrated with some other things at the time, and I never really had a problem with Brady. Guys can have differences. You move on, and I'm excited to work with him again. So that was an element of it that I thought was interesting. And it's funny, too. Somebody pointed this out to me. I didn't include it in the article in The Athletic yesterday, but in this current era of baseball, you do have guys like Brady in the front office, special assistants who do work with players. It does happen. It's more common now. So maybe the Orioles were ahead of their time with what was at the time perceived as a very weird situation.
I love all of that. I remember that story. I loved that story because you just want to get inside baseball any way you can as a fan. And there was some serious drama going on. And now you find
Yes.
out that some of it might have been frustration. So anyway, check out the article. It's really good in The Athletic from Ken. And if you want to go back in the archives to the 2017 piece, it's still up there too. Ken,
It's linked.
thank you. We'll talk to you. Yeah, it's in there, right? In that other article.
The first story is linked in the current article, so you can find it.
I mean, I have to
Right. So you don't have to do any digging. Yes, AJ. 2 articles. It might take you 9 hours with that.
And AJ, I apologize. Both are rather long.
Oof.
They are.
AJ reads at a high school level.
One screen size, then it's too long. And by the way, I'm very happy you made it home because the text messages and the panic that were noted in your text messages about getting home, I've never seen anyone panic like that about getting out of New York City. I mean, I'm sorry, Ken, but you should have got smart like me and just jumped on the first flight and flew out in the blizzard instead of waiting for it to come.
Slight overstatement there, AJ, but I would expect nothing less.
Of course.
AJ was on the dais or whatever it's called, begging 6 guys who had personal jets and talking about panic. Guys, I need to get out of here. I don't know what I'm going to do. How about you, AJ? How about you, Rizzo? How about you?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, everybody.
I will say I got offered seats by 2 people. By 2 people on that dais. One of them was Aaron Judge, and the other was Carlos Rodon.
And then what happened?
And I didn't accept. I didn't accept.
He didn't accept, but complained that he couldn't accept because he had to work on our show. Gee,
true. That is
sorry.
true. That's true. That's true. It's your guys'
Next
fault.
time I know that, I would have said, AJ, you take the Judge plane and you do an exclusive sit down for 3 hours with Judge from up there to down here. We will accept that next time. Okay.
Well.
That just didn't get across the approval desk in time, but for next time. Ken, we'll catch you later this week. Good times.
Thanks, guys.
Fair Territory also out from yesterday and again on Thursday. Then you should have Ken back on Friday, Thursday's episode with Alana Rizzo. We'll take plenty of your questions then. We'll be right back to talk about a team potentially moving to another city.
Show me the money.
Show me the money! Show me the money!
Yes, there are quotes from the, I want to get this right, Hillsborough County Commissioner?
Yes. Ken Hagan.
Yeah. Ken Hagan in this story in the Tampa Bay Times that says the Rays are Orlando's if Hillsborough College deal fails, according to Hagan. So it looks like Orlando is a real fallback option if the Rays can't figure this out with Hillsborough College. This has been going on forever. So I will just put a blanket statement over this to start, AJ, and then I'll let you explain the geography and the backstory here. If they don't figure it out with Hillsborough College, I think it's time. They've been talking for decades in the area. They are playing again in a place that is essentially made of paper mache and was not supposed to be lasting this long. It is still the butt of many jokes. I was on a sales call yesterday with a brand and they were making fun of the place. Enough already. Figure it out. Let's get some baseball in a better spot in Florida in this region. So I'll take the quote and then we'll get your comments on it. The guy said, the reality is Orlando has significantly more bed tax revenue than we do. They've been pushing for a team. And he's, of course, then knocking Orlando later on in this conversation for more traffic and that the TV market in Tampa is better. We can get to part 2 of that. But let's start with part 1. Tell us what you know about the Hillsborough College site, because that's Tampa, right? That's not St. Pete. So
that's Tampa. It's right next to George Steinbrenner Field. And it's right across the street from the Bucks. I mean, they're literally, it's like 1, 2, 3 on Dale Mabry, if you know anything about Tampa, right there. So it's all in the same general area. And if you're talking about traffic, I don't know if you've ever been to Dale Mabry when there's a Bucks game or even been to a Yankees spring training game, but there's some serious traffic on Dale Mabry because there's one road in and one road out. But that's not the point. Here's where I get a little squirrely on this one is – this is a negotiating ploy. Let's be serious here. And I think people in Orlando haven't got excited about this because they all think at the end of the day they're going to keep it in Tampa. Would I love to have a team here? Yes, but then if you talk to the people at the Dreamers, whatever they're called, Barry Larkin and his group that's running it, They've already moved. They kind of already moved on to like expansion franchise, right? But they're not going to put 3 teams in the Florida area. So do I think it would be great for Orlando to get a team? Absolutely. Do I think that Orlando has a space to do it? They have a small space to do it, but owners want 100 plus acres to build a giant place. I think Orlando's spot they were talking about is 35 acres. As far as the traffic and stuff goes, listen, from what I've heard about the Orlando space, there's 2 major highways that run right next to where it is. I know where it is. I've been to the site many times. And they're putting a rail station right in there that will run one day to Tampa. Right now runs from the airport to Miami, so you can run from the airport. And the biggest thing is you got to get the theme parks involved. I don't know how you do that if you're Orlando. Listen, Orlando generates 80 million tourists a year. They generate, I forget how many billions of dollars in tourism. They have a tourism tax. All that money now goes to the Citrus Bowl, which is now called Camping World Stadium, and the Kia Center where the Magic play, and to this place and to that. And if the Orlando team can just get a little slice of that, it would help. So there's so many moving parts in this, but at the end of the day, you have to remember this. It's a negotiating ploy. Remember when the White Sox said, we're going to move to Nashville? Remember when the White Sox said, we're going to move to Tampa? Remember when the Giants were moving to Tampa? Remember when this team was moving here and this? And well, guess what ends up happening? They get a new stadium. So this is all about negotiating. It was a smart play by this Hillsborough County commissioner, but we'll see.
Yeah, because the way you read it is there's not going to be St. Pete baseball anymore. It would be Tampa or it would be Orlando. Yeah, I agree with that.
When you do markets, like, okay, so let's just say he said Tampa is bigger than Orlando. I think Tampa is 12 in markets, but that's Tampa, St. Pete, Sarasota, basically the entire almost west coast of Florida. And Orlando is Orlando, Daytona, and basically like the central area east of in Florida. Right now, Orlando, I believe, is 15. They're going to pass Detroit shortly for 14. So it's not like Tampa's 2 and I think Orlando's 25. Like it's not like New York and then Las Vegas way down here, right? I mean, they're about the same. Okay, so that's one of the arguments that I don't understand because, and also if you look at visitors and all that, Orlando blows Tampa, St. Pete, Clearwater out of the water as far as visitors on a yearly basis.
I'm with you. Yeah, the TV market debate is not a good one for them. There's another part that I want to get to later, but our guest is ready, so we'll go back to it. Let's table this and we'll restart it in a bit. Let's get to our next guest. He's actually in the intro there. Nolan Arenado joining us right now, new member of the Arizona Diamondbacks. Nolan, great to see you, man. And how's the offseason going for you? Getting set up for a new spot?
Yeah, it's going great, man. Thanks for guys for having me. I'm excited. Back in talking stick for spring training, which is great. No, man, I'm excited. Great young team. It should be fun.
Oh yeah, I forgot. Right, you know talking stick pretty well.
He's gonna get confused. He's gonna get confused. He's gonna go in the wrong door. He's gonna park on the Rocky side, and he's not gonna realize he has to go to the Diamondback. So he's gonna walk in the wrong door. He's going to open the door, and he's going to go, wait, these aren't the Rockies I remember. Sorry. Yeah. Oops, wrong door.
I did drive by. I usually stop at the Starbucks right there, and then I kind of did go around the Rocky side first, and I had to go make a big loop. So I did kind of pass it the old way I used to. So
is that why you agreed then to go to the Diamondbacks? Because they have the same spring training site as the Rockies, so you felt at home?
Yeah, it felt close to home, obviously being in Scottsdale for sure. But no, I mean, I picked that team because it's, like I said, it's close to home. Being in Arizona, I'm from Orange County. And then also it's a great young team with great young players. And it'll be nice to be surrounded by guys like that. And being a veteran player, as you know, as veteran players, it's nice to be surrounded by a young group. It makes you feel younger and kind of just helps you boost you up a little bit. And I'm excited about that.
How tough was this decision? Obviously, we hear rumors, but only you go through and actually know, like, oh, I was really thinking about these different decisions. And how long, or how tough was it to weigh those different decisions?
I mean, it was pretty tough. I mean, obviously we had our babies in St. Louis, we had our family there, and we had a great house, we lived in a great neighborhood. And, honestly, when I opted in 22, I thought that would probably be where I ended, I finished my career. But as you guys know, baseball, things happen fast. and things change, and it just comes with the territory. And I think with where they're headed, and I thought a fresh start for myself would be great also. So, I just saw it as an opportunity to go play, show who I am, and I'm excited for the season.
Nolan, how does that work? Did the Cardinals come to you and say, "Hey, we got an opportunity for you," or did they get? Because you see it in other sports, you don't really see it in baseball very often, right? You see it in some sports where they say, "Hey, we'll allow whoever quarterback to find his own trade," or in the NBA, we'll allow whoever to find their own trade. Did the Cardinals come to you and say, "Hey, if you can find a place you're happy," or did you give them a list of teams that you said, "Hey, I'll go to"? Because your situation is so unique where you said no to Houston from what we heard, right? And then Arizona came and you said, "Yeah, I'll go there." So how does that start? How does that conversation start?
Well, it started at like the end of the season, like right before the season ended. Me and Chaim met, and we talked about how give me a list of teams that you'd be willing to, and I gave him the teams that I'd be willing to leave, that I would move to, and it's just kind of like some of those teams are interested, some of them aren't. Some of them don't want to give up what they want, all those things, the money and all, it's a pretty complicated process, to be honest with you. But, honestly, having a full no trade clause is probably the greatest thing for a player to have. And I just thought, I knew that I didn't play great last year, obviously dealt with some injuries, and I also didn't perform the way I wanted. So I could see how some teams didn't want me. So, I just wanted an opportunity to go somewhere, and Arizona showed interest pretty early. And I saw that as a place that, I've played in Chase Field for so long, obviously playing with the Rockies. I know the NL West, and I felt very comfortable. And obviously moving my family there was kind of a no-brainer.
Playing third, part of that. And the part about Chase Field, I looked up your numbers at Chase Field. Your first 2 years, you were kind of Since then, you're right. You kill it in Chase Field. See, I get it. You feel a little sexy in that sense. But playing third, did that matter a lot? Because we heard possibly Padres moving to first base. And when you're having those discussions, do they say, "Hey, this team would want you, but it's as a first baseman," and that's part of your decision?
Well, there was definitely comfort in like playing, just sticking at third base, and that's what I want to play. But I was very open to playing first. I like it. I love taking ground ball. I mean, I love taking ground balls anywhere, but I love taking ground balls at first. I would do anything, whatever they asked. I didn't mind. Like I said, Arizona was just a place that showed the most interest, and it was obviously one of my yeses of the team listed that I sent. And so I just said, yeah, I mean, if you can get it done, then I'm good to go. So if Arizona would have told me, "Hey, we need you to play first base," I would have been like, that's no problem. I would have no problem with it.
I know what happened. You wanted to live in the same city for spring training and the season. That's smart. That's why a lot of guys like going to Arizona.
That's a perk.
You don't have to move.
Yeah,
definitely. And you're close to OC, so you can get home too if you need to get home, and you're close.
Exactly.
But I mean, I know we're harping on this, but it's just such a unique situation. Last year, the rumors were you're going to Houston, and then you say no, and then everyone's like, "This Nolan Arenado is a terrible human being because he doesn't want to go to Houston. He doesn't want to win." Right? I've known you for a long time. I've known nothing about other than you want to win, and you're a great dude, and you want to compete, and you teach young guys, and you come to work every day. Do those feelings hurt you a little bit when you see that stuff? Because someone that knows you from the outside, I know that's not true. I know you want to win, and I know you want to be on a good team.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I think when trade stuff like this comes up and you have a full no trade, and you obviously wish it doesn't come to the public, but it's just going to because it's part of the business, and it just things get shared. I have the utmost respect for Houston. I've said this so many times. They traded Kyle Tucker. Bregman wasn't going back. There was a lot of things that I was just a little hesitant at the time. And I respect all those players that are there and that organization. They're great. But yeah, man, I mean, I didn't enjoy the things that people were saying about me, but you kind of just block it out. It's just one ear and out the other. I know who I am. You know me. I think my teammates know me. So, and people around the league know who I am. So, I try not to show nobody up or disrespect nobody, but it's my life, and I have a family, and I got to make the decisions for it. And it wasn't an easy one, but it was the one I went with.
You mentioned this several times. You get to go play with some young players. Who from afar, since you're only played against them, on the Diamondbacks, are you like, kind of want to see this guy play 162 games? Like, this is legit. It's no shade at anybody else, but you have to choose which of your teammates you're going to like more before you get there. So that's what I'm asking you to do.
Well, I mean, Corbin Carroll is special. I mean, I think he's one of the players that you play against that makes you pretty uncomfortable on a baseball field playing against him because he could really run. He's going to get the extra base. He's going to steal bags, and he's got serious power. So, like, players like that, they're rare to come by. I think he's one of the top, I know he was the top 10. They voted him top 10, but I think he's like top 5 player in the game, position player, that's for sure. And I just think the stress he causes for other teams. If he hits a ground ball, you have to get rid of it quick. Extra bases, like I said, stealing bases and power. It's just a pretty special player, and I'm excited to watch him go about it his business. I've heard great things. Obviously, I've played against Cattell for a long time, and he's special. And then obviously, I'm excited to play the left side with Perdomo, who's an absolute stud. So I mean, these guys are good. They got some great players. Moreno's got a chance to be great. It's filled with great players. So. But Corbin Carroll, for me, is one of the best players in the game, so I'm excited to watch him.
Damn, you should be on the PR team for the Diamondbacks right now. Listen, you got me pumped up. You got me pumped up to go. I mean, wow, I can't wait to go to Diamondbacks camp now. I'm super excited about this team because, listen, you guys, if you get any kind of pitching, Perdomo is one of the most underrated people. You mentioned him that you've ever seen. Look up his WAR for all those analytics people out there. You won't believe it when you see it. Plus, the way he stood up for Marte last year was absolutely awesome. When he had problems with his mom, people were wearing him out. Unbelievable. All right, I want to go back to you just here for a second. People are saying you're on the decline, right? How do you fight that? I played till I was 40 years old. My year 39, or 38, I had a great year. My year 39 before turning 40, I absolutely stunk. It was my last year. How do you fight the decline that people say, oh, his defense is falling off. He didn't have any power anymore. How do you fight that?
Yeah, I mean, it's not easy. I mean, the fact that you play till 40 is awesome. I don't think I'm going to want to do that. That's hard to do. But, your body, when you play a lot of games, as you know, and you know better than I do being a cat, both you guys being catchers, it's just the wear and tear on your body. I took my defense really serious and played hard on both sides of the ball. And I think there's some things in my offseason training program that I had to change that I felt I was a little late to recognize, that I'm hopeful that will come into fruition this year, as far as like taking care of your hips a little better, making sure your lower back is feeling good, your core is strong. I mean, I always kind of did that, but it was easier when you're younger. When you get older, it has to be like something you're super focused on. So I changed a lot of way I went about my business this offseason, changed my diet, and I feel better. I feel great right now. I've been working hard, changing some things in my swing. And obviously, I think those things that I think are going to be huge for me, because this offseason I felt really good. So I think, I got to go out there and do it. Obviously, I get to sit here and talk about all I want, but there's some things I'm doing this offseason that I don't usually do, as far as like challenging myself, getting on the machine earlier, just making myself a little bit uncomfortable in the cage and see if my swing breaks down, and trying to like make sure I can be able to counter that when the season starts.
Compare where you were the last 2 off seasons to where you are now. Do you feel like you're advanced? Because this is the point in the off season where every year everyone's like, I'm the best. I might not even make it out this year. But where compared physically how you feel, because that's really the only thing that gets in the way when you get older, is how do you feel? You're playing through something the whole time, or your body feels like, ooh, I'm rested, I'm ready to go.
Yeah, I think this is the first offseason where I didn't stop working out when the season was over. Obviously, getting hurt had a lot to do with that. Usually after a season, you take like 2 weeks, go on vacation or whatever. This offseason, we had a baby, so I didn't really have a whole lot of time to take a break. But I also made sure I just kept lifting and kind of being in the gym every other day, and kind of, like 4 days a week, and just making sure my body feels good. And I think as I've gotten older, that's what I've needed to do. When I'm younger, I could take 2.5 weeks off and get in the gym and be like, all right, I'm pretty sore, but I'm good to go. Like, I think as you get older, you just can't take too much time away from the gym or working out or just sweating and, doing some things. Cause I don't know, you just feel old when you just feel a lot older when you don't. So just those things, I've been really focused on that, making sure I'm not taking 2 days off. And it's really been, I think it's been paying dividends this off season, and I'm hopeful that it'll be a great year.
Hey, welcome to old age, Nolan. Okay,
Yeah.
It only gets worse. Okay, trust me, it doesn't get any easier. Even when you stop playing and you're sitting. Oh, stop it, Kratz. When you sit at home and you're just like, oh, I played for so long, I have so many Gold Gloves, and you're like, I don't want to go work out today. And then a month goes by, and you look in the mirror. You know what the worst is? You'll get the picture with your family, and you'll have like a belly, and you're like,
Oh no.
I got to get back in the gym. So don't ever stop doing that. I'm just telling you, just don't ever stop, because that day comes for all of us, except for maybe Scott Braun, who will be jacked until he's dead. But
he's always been lean.
Yeah, just understand that day never ever goes away. All right.
Yeah,
when you get to spring training, what's your role going to be on this team? Because it's not like the Diamondbacks are young, but they're also not 10-year vets, kind of like a lot of the guys you had when you first got to St. Louis. So is your role going to be a mentor Marte's got time. Corbin Carroll's got time. A lot of these guys, Perdomo has some time, right? These guys have a few years. So are you going to be more of the leader type? Or are you going to be more sit back and watch, and then wherever they put you? Because it's a different team than not young and not old.
Yeah. Well, I think, obviously when I first get there, get to know a lot of these guys. I went there last week to kind of try to get to know, the coaches and some of the players, but definitely probably be a little bit more quiet, watch the way everyone works, get to know them. But, obviously be a mentor to them and just be there. But also, I have a job to do, and that's play a good third base. And I'm excited to play with these guys. My expectations they're always high, maybe higher than what they should be. But, I don't, that's the only way to go, I guess. And my expectations go out there and play and help this team win ball games just as much as anybody else on this team will. And I want to part of that.
All right, Nolan, when you were in St. Louis, and obviously you already mentioned it, you opted in back in 22. Did you see the team dynamic? Did you see it change, that it was going to change as much as it did? And had you known that ahead of time, were you like, maybe I wouldn't have stayed there? Or would it have been different? Everybody knew Yachty and Wainwright were going to be gone, but did you think the org was going to change the way that it did?
No, definitely not. The Cardinals, I think, obviously in 22, it was so much fun watching Albert do his thing, being, we were a really good team. Then obviously in 23, we signed Wilson, who was a good signing. And, I thought we were just going to be good. I think the Cardinals have always found a way to be good, even when on paper it may not look like they're going to be great, but we always found a way, and they always did. And I think I didn't expect that this turnaround to be the way it has been. I thought 23 was obviously extremely tough. The first losing season in I don't know how many years. So that was extremely disappointing. But, I think, it's just changes happen fast. I don't know. It's hard to even explain. It happened so fast. It was like 22 won the division. Obviously we lost the Phillies, but we felt like we were really good that year. 23 going in, we thought we were going to be pretty good too. And then all of a sudden, losing season, and then everything kind of changed after that. But no, I didn't expect it for sure. And I was actually kind of surprised. I don't know if the new schedule got to us, and, you don't play the division all the time. I don't know if that was part of it, but, I'm not sure what happened.
Yeah, it's okay. You're not there anymore. We don't have to worry about the Cardinals anymore. We're snakes now. We're snakes now.
Yeah,
all right?
right.
Speaking of being a snake, and this is kind of a weird transition, so don't get mad at me. You played for Team USA twice, okay?
Yeah.
Now you're on the other team, so you're like a traitor because you went to Puerto Rico. So I know your mother's Puerto Rican, so I'm not getting on you at all. But it's pretty cool that you can play twice for USA, gold and silver, and now you get to go play for another team. That's pretty awesome, right?
Yeah, obviously playing for USA was great. I've already had some pretty harsh DMs coming at me by some people. But you know what? This will be the last time I get to do this. Yachty asked me, and honestly, that fired me up. He asked me at the end of last year, or end of last season, and it kind of fired me up. And I've been preparing this whole offseason for it. And I'm excited. And, I'm excited to represent my Latin side that I have. I got the Cuban side, and I got the Puerto Rican side, and obviously my mom. So, I'm excited. And my mom is super pumped. But I'm not too concerned about everyone's feelings. Like I said, this will be the last time I get to do this, and I'm excited to open up in Puerto Rico and help this team win and play with some great players.
Wait. Tell us about some of those DMs. Were any of them have any of your USA teammates been the ones that have reached out to you, giving you a hard time, or is this just all NARPs?
No, yeah. It's just all random. I had one guy send me my USA jersey. He threw it in the trash.
That's
Um,
terrible.
I'm like, all right. And then I had a couple other people say I'm a traitor, and I'm like, listen, I mean, I didn't get asked to play for USA, and actually the USA team. There's only a few guys on that team from the 23 team. And listen, I mean, it's baseball. It's not a big deal, but I'm excited to play for Puerto Rico, and if we end up playing USA, I think that'd be pretty cool.
By the way, let's just first of all, don't read the comments. That's the lesson on FT today because we've already had a bunch of conversations.
My cousins get a laugh out of it. They always send me like the funniest things when people rip me and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's fun. As long as you can laugh at it, then it's fine. Then you can read the comments.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But if you take them too serious, don't read the comments. But what you said right there was exactly the point. USA didn't ask you, and nobody says no to Yachty, right? Because as Adam Wainwright once told us, Yachty has a neck tattoo, and you don't mess with guys with neck tattoos, right? So if Yachty calls you and says you have to play, then you have to play.
Yeah, you gotta listen, man. He's the caballo, man. You gotta listen to him. When he talks, you listen. And I love Yachty, man. He's one of the best people, smartest people I've ever played with. And it was an honor for him to ask me, and the fact that he thought about me, it fired me up.
And by the way, before we let you go, first of all, I played with Yachty. I love Yachty also. I never realized you had such like the SoCal surfer guy accent. Like all the times I've had conversations with you, I've never really caught on to like the SoCal surfer. But with your whole vibe today, I applaud it. I tip my cap and I applaud it today.
I just came on here and man, I appreciate that. Thank you.
No, it's cool. I wish trust me, I wish I had that vibe, okay? Instead of the super intense, I can't get enough, but the SoCal vibe is something, I guess, when you grow up
it's
there.
It's the offseason, man. The offers haven't come yet and all that stuff. You know how it goes. Easy right now.
You sleep a little bit more calm. I want to go back to Yachty
I'm sleeping great right now.
You play with Yachty. Now you're going to play for Yachty. Do you think he can manage? Not can he manage a team and does he know the X's and O's, but can he do 2 interviews every single day for 162 days plus spring training? Or is that is there something that's I don't know, he's just so intense and locked onto the field?
Absolutely, he can. Being around him, he is really intense, and I wouldn't be surprised if there were some bad questions being asked in those interviews. He would let them know that's not a good question, but he would most definitely be really good at it. He loves the game of baseball. He's the smartest man I've ever been around. He would absolutely be a great coach. I really do believe that. He's smart. He knows what people he wants to have surrounded by him. He's not someone that I've seen so far, even because he's coaching in, Venezuela. He's been trying to coach all the time. He wouldn't surround himself with people that aren't smart either. He'd make sure he surrounds himself with some of the best coaches to make sure he's constantly getting better and learning. He's like that. He's a special one for sure. I mean, I don't know. I was in awe playing with him, and he was managing while playing. I mean, it was he's so smart. He was above and beyond everyone else. I mean, he was the way coaches think now, I don't know how it was back in the day, but teams are not afraid to walk guys now because they just love the matchup against, whoever. Yachty's been doing that. He's been all over those things, way before everyone else. He just thinks outside the box, and he's the smartest baseball guy I've ever seen.
Nolan, last one. Let's go off the field. So I'll give you the floor here wherever you want to go with this, but I'd say you're a wine aficionado or a huge fan, involved business-wise. So just want to lay out whether that's, what your world in wine is like, or a favorite bottle, or just your passion. We always like to get something off the field that you're really into, and I think that's a layup.
Yeah. Oh, well, Diamond and Keys, our wine. We're really excited about it. I don't know. You guys got that? Oh, thank you. Well, I appreciate you guys doing that. And it's a great cab. Obviously, I'm biased. I think it's the best cab out there. I know there's some great ones, but it's really great. And obviously, teaming up with Clay Thompson, and our Joe Harden and Joe McLean. These guys they work extremely hard on it, and we think it could be really great. I would, if I see you guys in spring training, maybe I'll bring you guys a bottle. You guys can let me know. You can give me an honest critic, but we're really excited about it. We're just trying to keep it moving and get it out there, but it's very good, and we're excited for the future.
I love that. How can people
Got
get
it.
their hands on it? Can you order cases, or you got to be in stores for it?
No, you can order cases online and stuff like that. Yes, absolutely.
Okay, I know my dad's watching. He's going to order a case. That's his
I'll
thing.
be I'll be expecting a case at my front door in about a week.
Yeah, AJ wants a free one. My dad's going to pay for one.
Yeah. I mean, absolutely. You could be honest, you could let us know what you guys think. We feel very good about it, but yeah, we'll definitely get some bottles out to you guys.
But by the way, hold on, before he goes, I have to ask him one question. He was the first guy that didn't wear his team colors on his batting gloves and his shoes. Because when you remember you were at the Rockies, you had like the color shirt on that you have now on your cleats, right? It was and I was like, damn. I was like, damn, how come he gets to make all these cool colors and I can only be black and white? Because like I was with the White Sox, or black and gray, right? But now you're with the Diamondbacks and they have every color under the sun uniforms. They have teal, orange, red, purple, blue. So what color are you going to pick to represent the Diamondbacks?
Black and white.
Yeah, you should go black. Exactly.
I mean, I'm old school in the sense of like the bait, because like when I first got called up, obviously you guys know like the shoe had to be 50% black, or like whatever the team color, it had to be, the base had to be black. It couldn't be like just some random color like it is now. And I'm kind of still like that. I'm not a big like white shoe. Like obviously the teal, I added the teal to the black as it made the Rockies colors, because purple and black kind of just look the same. So that's why I added it. But with the Diamondbacks, I'm definitely gonna have teal in my cleats. I still have a black base shoe. I'm 34. Like I can't be wearing like neon colors out there like some of these young guys can, who are nasty and they could fly. I mean, I'm just kind of old school like that. So the base will be good, but I'll have the teal, and I'll make sure the flash is still out there though on the shoe.
There you go. Hey, and I know AJ's
Bring back
show.
the Nike trip.
Bring
back the Nike trip. Tell him.
Dude,
Tell
you ain't lying, dude. 100%. Oh, they know. I tell them all the time. We need it back.
All right. Well, we'll be in camp. I just was told February 26th. Not me, but AJ will definitely be there. So expect to stop by, and AJ will have a glass of wine on the show. What?
KP.
Awesome.
Oh, KP Pilar. Kevin Pilar will be there. Okay, there you go. Well, Nolan, we enjoyed it. Thanks for the extended time, and great to catch up with you. We'll see you in camp.
Thank you guys so much. You guys have a good one. All right.
You too. Have a good one. That's Nolan Arenado, new Diamondbacks third baseman. See ya.
If you're looking to get your food routine down at home, you need to add some premium protein from Omaha Steaks.
That's right. It's steaks. The filet mignon is incredible, Kratz. I've had the chicken. I've had the shrimp cocktail. We both love the burgers very much. And there's a way to save a little money on your order. So you can go to omahasteaks.com. Promo code is FOUL at checkout to get yourself an extra $35 off.
The fan favorite filet mignon has earned the coveted distinction of the USDA certified Very Tender, a family-owned company with over 100 years of expertise in the meat industry.
Let Omaha Steaks deliver high-quality proteins right to your door. Visit omahasteaks.com and get an extra $35 off with promo code FOUL at checkout. That's OMAHA steaks.com, promo code FOUL. Terms apply. See site for details.
Show me the money.
Show me the money! Show me the money!
We're actually doing a part 2. I wanted to finish our discussion. I think this is a huge topic, and AJ has a point. It also could be posturing. We're going back to the conversation about the Rays. This is big. The Rays were sold recently. There's a new owner in town. It's been so damn long that they're trying to figure out their ballpark situation. I do think we're going to get some type of resolution quicker this time. MLB can be criticized for letting this go for a long period of time, but they're also pissed too. They want to get this done. They want to eventually figure out their expansion situation. There's only so much you can do too. Ultimately, the owners own the league. So they all vote on what happens. Let's go back to a part that I think probably pissed AJ off. I think you properly clapped back at the commissioner there, the county commissioner for the TV market, and how I think Orlando keeps up there in terms of how many people are in the Orlando area and the tourists, 80 million tourists per year. That's insane. That's double Vegas, which is second. He said, quote, "People think traffic is bad here. It's horrible over there. Orlando couldn't keep the Atlanta Braves spring training team, if you remember that. But the reality is, if a deal can't get reached here, I firmly believe Orlando is where they're going to be playing." There's another part. I'll get to that in a moment. I live in Orlando. AJ lives in Orlando. We live on different parts of the city. We live in separate sides, right? Different parts of town. AJ, I have spent most of my life driving around the New York City tri-state area. The traffic in New York City area, Long Island, some of these spots I always had to drive through is a 10 out of 10. When people complain in Orlando, aside from a little bit of Disney traffic, like right around the parks there, it's like 5 minutes. People will be like, "Oh, it got so backed up." And it's like 5-10 minutes. I get stuck on one street or avenue in New York City, and then you go to the next street or avenue and get stuck again. So it's all relative. And I actually do think that the Causeway and some of the parts over there in Tampa and St. Pete area have worse traffic than Orlando does. What do you think?
No. Have you ever been to a Rays game? Have you ever been to a Bucks game? Have you ever been to a Yankees spring training game? The traffic is insane. It's on Dale Mabry. It's the one street, right? They also have some stops along the way that you can stop if you want to waste some time. Maybe we don't have that many in Orlando. That's why he's talking about traffic. I don't know. We'll let people figure that out on their own. I want to go back to something else. The traffic is not that bad. Listen, there are times, and where I live on the Disney side of Orlando, okay? Yes. Can there be bad traffic? Yes. But it's all about when, and there's certain times of the day that I don't go to Disney. And there's certain times of the year when you say, okay, I got to stay away from this general area because I know there's 1 million people in town for a convention or something at Disney, so you stay away from that area. Other than that, Disney is a self-contained animal. And Universal is now almost a self-contained animal where they are located because they have this whole area that's Universal, and Disney's not even in the city, so it doesn't even count. But I want to go back to what the guy said about Orlando couldn't keep the Atlanta Braves at Disney spring training. I played for the Braves my last 2 years, okay? We sold out damn near every game. I'm saying, I don't know how many that stadium hold, 10, 12, 15,000. It was sold out almost every single game. The Braves didn't leave Disney because they weren't drawing people and they weren't getting fans. They left because the complex fucking sucked, okay? We had to sit in there with no chairs. We had a locker room with no chairs. I had to bring my little fold-up tailgating chair and put it in my locker because we didn't have room for stools and we didn't have room for chairs. That's a big league clubhouse. To get to any work done, you had to walk all the way across the field. The training room had 2 tables in it because it was so small. There was 1 couch. The food room was smaller than a closet at Scott's house, okay? So it wasn't because they weren't drawing and it wasn't because it wasn't popular. They moved because the facility sucked and the Disney wouldn't throw money into it because they're like, why are we throwing money into this? Well, we get 15,000 fans a game. The Braves were like, hey, Northport or Sarasota, Northport, yeah,
Charlotte,
South Sarasota, whatever they call it, said, hey, we'll build you a brand new complex, state of the art. Oh, yeah, and we'll build all the fields, and you don't have to pay a dime. Boom. Who's going to say no to that? No, because there were times when I was with the Braves, we couldn't go on the back fields because there was a Little League tournament happening, right? And it would rain. We had to go into the Milk Jug complex, whatever it's called over there at Disney, and throw indoors because there was no fields that were available to use, right? So that's why. So don't throw it like this is like one of those worst arguments ever. Like, oh, they left, so I'm going to use that. It's not true. Okay, so this is one of those county commissioners, good politicking, but it's not true.
Thank you. I knew that would fire you up. And as someone who has lived in Orlando for a much, much less portion of their much fewer years in his life, I was even pissed reading some of these comments. The thing to look at, though, that I do believe, all the BS and the posturing and the debates about which city's which, right? And I like, we both love Tampa. It's not anything against Tampa. I just genuinely feel that I can comment on this these days as a Florida resident. I think Orlando would be a much better spot for a team. And I even think that MLB is on board at this point with Orlando being a better spot. It would be much easier government money wise. What's the problem?
You have 2 problems right now. One, Ron DeSantis is the governor, and he's from the Tampa Clearwater area, so he wants to keep the team over there, right? The other problem you have to figure out is that if they haven't exhausted, you have to, if it's going to come to Orlando, it almost has to be turnkey, right? Where they say, okay, we're going to Orlando, and Orlando has to have the infrastructure and everything already ready to go, right? Like, boom, you say yes, we turn the faucet on, we start building the stadium, we start improving the roads, we have the train station ready to go, and it's done, right? Because what it gets hung up is where it's hung up now in Tampa. Politicians, bureaucrats, whatever. Oh, I want my little piece. I want my little piece. I want this. I want that. You have to have it. If you're Orlando, you have to have it turnkey where they just say, boom, we're turning on the faucet. Okay, let's move. Let's make this move. Let's start the stadium next month. And the Rays are moving in 3 years, however long it takes to move a stadium. Will it happen? I don't know. Do I hope it happens? Of course. I'm from Orlando. I want a team. The Magic have done well as long as you get the theme parks involved somehow. I don't know how you do that because most of them want their people to stay in the theme park area, but you got to get the theme parks involved one way or another. And I don't know how you do that.
I will say this last point. The reason this came up with the county commissioner out there for that Hillsborough County, and that's the college, Hillsborough College. So they would actually take over parts of the college campus. When we've seen that in the past, by the way, it usually ultimately gets rejected when you're trying to get the education system involved and all that. So I'm skeptical, but we'll see what happens. DeSantis spoke about this, the governor of Florida, and said, yeah, they're going to get the first crack talking about the Tampa Bay area. But if not, he's like, our priority is keeping this team in Florida. And I do believe that's the case. So he did say, I mean, Orlando wants it. Disney would love to put it at Wild World of Sports. Or Universal could put it close to their park. So I believe that's back in the conversation here. And I don't know the new ownership group well, but I think there's a chance they look at what's gone on there for a long period of time and say, okay, enough. This is too long. We went through this last time around. I don't want to be a villain. I want to actually see this team thrive and be able to compete in Major League Baseball. That's part of the problem too. Are they always going to be Moneyball of Florida?
30 years this has been happening. 30 years.
30 years. It's ridiculous.
I saw an NBA game like in 1991 at the Trop back in the day. I mean, it was way back. I remember when Vaughn Hayes, Phillies legend, Kratz, was in spring training. They brought him over from Clearwater, and they hit him fly balls in the Trop to make sure that people could see so they could prove that they could have a team and support a team in the Trop. So the stadium was built before there was a team because St. Pete actually was forward thinking and said, man, if we build a stadium, they will come. A team actually came, and now we're here. But that was like 1990 when they built the Trop. And so now we're almost, 40 years later, and the Rays are still looking for a new team. And Tampa doesn't seem to be helping them in every capacity that they can.
I can't believe it's been that long. It blows my mind. There should be some type of deadline that leagues put together going forward and say, if you don't do this, you get fined X amount of money. I mean, if you put a deadline in baseball on almost anything, it usually leads to a little more action. So we'll see. To be continued. Next guest ready to go. Crush City Territory host Chandler Rome and Astros reporter for The Athletic joining us right now. Chandler, good to see you. And the Astros are fresh off their fan fest, so we want to get some insight from that. But I want to make sure that anyone tuning in that's not an Astros fan stays locked in. It appears as if there's still a chance that the Astros have a trade chip or two that could be very valuable for another team. So, Chandler, I want to start there. Let's go to Isak Paredes. How do you think this plays out, and what would you do with the infield logjam that they're dealing with?
Well, Scott, I've been saying for the last week or so that I'd be surprised if they break camp from West Palm Beach with this glut of infielders on the roster. It just seems untenable to a point where you don't have everyday playing time for both Isak Paredes and Christian Walker. Joe Espada reaffirmed at FanFest that Jose Altuve will spend most of his season at second base. Yordan Alvarez will spend a majority of his season at DH. Now, both of those guys can play some left field, and they will play some left field, but the majority of their time are going to come at those two positions. those are really the only other two positions Isaac Paredes can play. Now, yeah, sure, Carlos Correa could use a day off at third base every now and then. Paredes can play there. If Jeremy Pena needs a day off at shortstop, maybe they stick Paredes there. Should be noted that Pena was on track to play 162 games last year before he broke his ribs. So I don't envision the left side of the infield coming off the field much. So you're looking at two guys that are going to make about $30 million between the two of them, and you're looking at a timeshare at first base. And I wonder how is that a prudent use of resources for a club that has already been pretty mindful of its luxury tax positioning this winter? So obviously, Isaac Paredes will bring more value back than Christian Walker would on the trade market. Christian Walker also has a limited no trade clause that allows him to void trades to 6 teams. I don't know what those teams are. As far as what I would do, I would look and see what makes the 2026 Astros best. Because at the end of the day, this is a team that is in win now mode. This is not a team that is planning for the future. This is not a team that's trying to stockpile its farm system and retool. This is a team that is trying to win now. Dana Brown is in the last year of his contract as a general manager. Joe Espada is in the last year of his contract as a manager. They are trying to win a championship in 2026. I would do whatever it takes to ensure that the 2026 Astros are the best that they can be.
Okay, so then either of those two, Christian Walker or Isaac Paredes, what do they bring back? What is the need? Because I had mentioned it earlier that possibly maybe a Jarren Duran if the Red Sox don't figure out third base or second base before opening day.
Well, it was interesting to hear Dana Brown talk at FanFest. He reiterated that he is trying to acquire a left-handed bat. Only the Angels took fewer plate appearances by a left-handed hitter last year than the Astros, and Victor Caratini took half of those for the Astros. He's now with the Twins. So obviously having Yordan Alvarez back for a full season will help. They want to get some run out of Zach Cole, their left-handed hitting rookie outfielder. That'll help, but this is still an unbalanced lineup. So I think Dana, if he had his druthers, he would go to find a left-handed bat. What do the Boston Red Sox have a lot of? They have a lot of left-handed hitting outfielders that are kind of expendable. So connecting the dots, it does make some sense to link the Red Sox and the Astros for a Paredes sort of deal. The Red Sox could use some help at third base. Isaac Paredes would rake in that ballpark given his pull tendencies. He also rakes at Dyken Park. So what I have been able to ascertain is that the Astros like Wilyer Abreu probably more than Jarren Duran. They are much more intrigued by him for good reason. He used to be in the Astros farm system. He was part of the trade in 2022 that went to the Red Sox in exchange for Christian Vasquez. So they know him well. He's making less money. Jarren Duran is going to make about $7 million this year. Wilyer Abreu is still making the league minimum. He's a 2-time Gold Glover in right field. They value that defense. I tell you, I think they are much more intrigued by Wilyer Abreu than Duran in any conversations that they're having with the Red Sox.
Obviously, this was an Astros publication, or you didn't say this, but when you look up the projected lineup on the internet of against right-handed pitchers, they have Cam Smith sitting. Is there a environment where the 2026 Houston Astros aren't good or are good without Cam Smith getting every day at bats? My contention was he should be somebody, righties or lefties, that should get 600 at bats this season.
Well, Kratzy, Dana Brown has said on numerous occasions that Cam Smith is not guaranteed a roster spot going to spring training. He's going to have to win one. An argument could be made that he should have probably been in the minor leagues for the last 2 months of last year. He was not an everyday player by the end of last year. The struggles really started to mount on him, but the Astros had so many injuries and they have no real help at the upper minor leagues that it really would have made no sense to send him to the minor leagues by that point. I think if Cam goes to West Palm Beach and does what he did last spring, I don't think we're having this conversation. I think he sails onto the team. I think he's pretty comfortably entrenched in right field, and we're not having this discussion, but he's got to prove himself. He's got to prove himself in spring training. That's something that he talked about at FanFest. To hear a 23-year-old have this sort of perspective, he said, we asked him how it hit him when he heard that Dana Brown said that his spot's not guaranteed. And he said, that's business. It's nothing personal. It's, I got to go play. I got to go compete. And I think the other thing, Kratzy, that could enter this calculus, they do still have Jesus Sanchez on the roster. They are fielding trade interest in Jesus Sanchez. He did not have a good tenure with the Astros after being acquired from the Marlins at the deadline. He is, however, a left-handed hitter, and his most natural position is right field. So if they don't trade him, and if he goes to camp and he maybe shows some flashes of what they thought he was going to be last year, and Cam Smith struggles in spring training, Dana Brown's already told you they need a left-handed bat. They need more balance. Maybe that's from within the team.
Damn, that's a lot of pressure to put on a 23-year-old kid who was traded, obviously, for Kyle Tucker and was supposed to be the big piece in that trade. Why would they do that to him? Why not be Dana Brown and say, hey, we're not sure? Like, why would you want to throw all this pressure on Cam Smith? You got to go out and have a great spring training, man. Because if you don't, guess what? You're going back, I think AAA's in Round Rock. You're going back to Round Rock, right? Like, why not just say, hey, we'll just see how it goes and maybe it'll all work out like most GMs do.
Sugarland, AJ, don't disrespect
Sugarland.
Sorry,
don't disrespect
Sugarland, Round Rock. Are they still the Sugarland Skeeters?
No, they're the Space Cowboys.
Oh, geez.
Come on.
Space Cowboys. Some people call them the Space Cowboys.
Some people call me the gangster of love. You know what I'm saying?
Steve Miller, kids.
I agree with what you're saying, AJ. I get the gist, but like they've already put so much pressure on this kid. I mean, they debuted him at the big league level last year, having played 32 games of professional baseball. Like he has shown just in the way that he handled everything last year, in the way that he handled the way he blew up in spring training, and then the first couple of months in the season when he was a really good hitter, when he was a productive member of this team. You never saw him get too high. You never saw him get too low. I think that's the one thing that they feel comfortable about with Cam Smith is the makeup. It's what's between the ears. He is wise beyond his age. He's wise beyond his years. He's got an outlook on things that most prospects his age do not have. So I really don't think they're concerned about maybe the pressure that they're putting on him because I don't think Cam Smith feels a ton of pressure. But, it's a valid point, and it certainly begs the question, why they took the route that they did last year, putting him on the roster to start the season. Because, it was funny. I was listening to Chaim Bloom give an answer about J.J. Weatherholt the other day about whether J.J. Weatherholt will be on the Cardinals opening day roster. And Chaim Bloom just outright said, I'm not going to care what he does in spring training. I'm not going to care about stats. I'm not going to care what he does in Grapefruit League play. Dana kind of took the opposite approach with Cam Smith. Cam Smith tore up the Grapefruit League last year. Just absolutely, his stats were incredible, and he played his way onto the roster in part because of what he did in Grapefruit League play. So was that the right course of action? I'm not sure, but you can't argue with the first few months that Cam Smith had in the major leagues. He was a valuable, 100 plus OPS plus guy, an above league average player for the first couple of months of the season. You wonder how much fatigue set in toward this back half of the year. And you wonder just how much, pitchers adjusted to him. And this is a game of adjustments, and Cam just couldn't make the adjustment quick enough.
By the way, and Kratz will tell you, and he'll agree with me on this, the most overrated month of the season, well, there's two. It used to be two, but now it's only one. Spring training, and it used to be September when you had a 40-man roster, but that's changed. The most overrated time to evaluate somebody, spring training, and I know Kratz agrees with me because you get choppers that go for hits, you get guys that you're not playing against the best team, the best guy, so that's why I just why do that to the kid? Good for Chaim.
And even if you looked at who he was facing in Grapefruit League play last year, he faced some big league guys and he had some success off some big league guys, but a lot of his damage in Grapefruit League play last year came off of A-ball guys, AA, like guys that he should have been facing as a 21-year-old kid with 32 games of professional experience. So, yeah, it's just a different way of evaluating it. And Dana comes from a scouting background. He comes from a player evaluation, on-field results kind of background. He values that. That is what he values. And, they made the decision that they made, and now they're going to have to navigate a spring training with him that is going to be completely different than the last one.
But Chandler, what if he comes into spring training, the best shape of his life? They love the way he's moving around. All those cliches. Save it. If you think he's good enough, he'll be on the team. If you don't, they made a reason for him to be on the team last year. We get it. Somebody who was on the team last year, not anymore, is now a free agent. You've watched Framber Valdez for years. You've watched the fact that they had to always say, well, we're bringing Martin Maldonado. He's there because Martin Maldonado knows how to control Framber. Then you had the catching incident or the catcher incident with Cesar Salazar. What exactly, if the narrative that this free agent year right now, this free agency, is they're afraid of what the character things about Framber are, what did you see? What did you see from Framber, and what could teams actually be afraid of?
I can only go off, Kratz and AJ, you guys know the media is only in the clubhouse for about an hour a day. And trying to glean anything off of the hour that we're in the clubhouse a day is foolish. So I can only really go off of what the people that spent the most time around Framber here have to say. And I got to tell you, he was really well liked by his teammates. He was well liked by Joe Espada and the coaching staff. They constantly said that no one works harder than Framber. And I mean, if you look at the guy too, I mean, he doesn't skip chest day. He doesn't skip arm day. Like, he is a put together individual, and he works about as hard as anyone. Now, it's pretty obvious that he had to do some image rehabilitation maybe in free agency. You look at the video that his agency put together about him, extolling his character, kind of giving you a little bit of background of where Framber came from, of allowing him and his family to kind of tell the story in his own words. It was also a little anomalous that he went to the GM meetings to meet with teams face to face. You see guys do that at the winter meetings sometimes. I don't think I've ever seen a guy go to the GM meetings and do that. Maybe I could be wrong, but that was a little bit, you've always gotten the feeling that he's going to have to explain that. And he's going to have to, come up with, some ways to talk about that. It should be noted too that, he worked with a sports psychologist in the Astros system named Dr. Andy Nunez, a guy that is at the Dominican, he's based in the Dominican at their facility. And he doesn't just work with Framber. He works with a lot of their Latin American pitchers. He works with a lot of their Dominican pitchers. And he has really come a long way since his rookie year. A lot of the things you see him do on the mound, the breathing exercises he does. If you watch him pitch, sometimes he'll if he throws a pitch he doesn't like, he'll just come off the mound completely, walk a lap around the mound to calm down, and then get back. That's something that Dr. Andy taught him how to do. So he has evolved a lot maturity-wise since he first got into the big leagues, as you would imagine any pitcher or any player would as they get older and as they settle into major league life. But as far as why he's still unsigned, I don't know what's going on with the negotiations. I don't know what offers he has or doesn't have. But it's, as the days dwindle and as you see, spring training get closer, it's hard to say with certainty that what happened with Cesar Salazar and maybe what happened and just character questions. It's hard to say that that's not having some impact. I think he'll still get paid a very handsome salary. He's still really, really good. He can still roll out of bed and throw 190 innings at a sub 3.5 ERA. That's really hard to do, and that's really valuable. But it's hard for me to look at this and think that that's not having at least some impact on his market.
I agreed. It sucks, but you know what? We all make decisions and they all have to pay for it. So it is what it is. Chandler, here's my thing. The Astros rotation, is it good enough right now with Hunter Brown and Amai? What's Amai going to give them? They put in weird incentives for 80, 90, and 100 innings. Usually those are much higher numbers. Is there a free agent out there? There's an old guy out there that would look kind of nice in this rotation. He's pitched in Houston a couple times. He's done some cool things in Houston. Is there a signing out there we could see for the Astros? Jim Crane plays golf with this older fella, and all of a sudden, boom, he's a Houston Astro again?
Should be noted, AJ, they played golf together this weekend at Jim's course in Palm Beach because Jim was hosting a charity event there. There was a lot of baseball players. Kyle Tucker was there, Cam Smith was there, Justin Verlander. was also there. Look, I think they're done adding to the rotation. You never say never, and I don't think they would ever just completely turn their nose at pitching. You can never have enough pitching. But I think with what they've done, I think if they wanted Justin Verlander, I think if Jim Crane wanted Justin Verlander, I think it probably would have been done by now. I think there was some interest in that maybe earlier in the offseason, but now that the Astros have made all these additions, I'm just not sure that, fiscally they're going to get where Justin maybe wants his contract to be. He made $15 million last year, had a very nice second half. You could maybe make the argument that he deserves maybe the same salary, if not maybe a little bit less. But, I right now I don't see that happening, but I'll always say with the caveat, if Jim Crane wants it because he and Justin Verlander are that close, if he decides that, he can make it work and he wants to make it work, it surely could happen. But is this rotation good enough? I think the answer, and I don't want to put it all on one guy, but I think the answer really lies with Christian Javier. I think if Christian Javier can recapture the form that we saw him have in 2022, you got to remember that he missed all of 2024 with Tommy John surgery, came back the middle of last year, and you guys know when you come back from Tommy John surgery, those first few starts, that first half a season back never goes well. It's always kind of the reacclimation period. This is his first healthy offseason in a while. This will be the first normal season he'll start from, game 2 or 3, whenever they start him, till the end. This is a guy that they thought enough of to give a $65 million contract extension to. He has started 2 combined no-hitters, one in the World Series and one at Yankee Stadium. At his best, Christian Javier can be a number 2, borderline number 1 starter. If they get him back to form and putting him behind Hunter Brown, I think this rotation is good enough. But if they can't get him back to that 2022 form, then yeah, you've got Hunter Brown as your ace. And you've got a lot of guys that, while they have a lot of upside, there's a lot of question marks and there's a lot of uncertainty as to what's going to happen. I think the Astros rotation viability and how good they're going to be, it really does lie with Christian Javier.
Okay, that's fair. We just had Nolan Arenado on the show, and he's going to play for Team Puerto Rico in the WBC. Is that why Carlos Correa decided not to play? Because he's like, Nolan Arenado's coming over from USA, and we know Puerto Rico's not beating USA.
Well, Nolan could play first. I know there were some teams that wanted him to play first when he was on the trade block, but no, Carlos isn't going to play in the WBC, and nor is Jose Altuve for Team Venezuela, because they could not get the proper insurance on their contracts to make it to where if they were to get hurt in the WBC, without the insurance, they would forfeit some of their regular season salary if they would miss any time due to those injuries. Remember, Jose Altuve broke his thumb in 2023 in the World Baseball Classic when he got hit by a pitch. Make no mistake, both Jose Altuve and Carlos Correa want to play. They wanted to play for their countries. They both talked about it at FanFest on Saturday. Jose Altuve even said, I've done everything I normally do to play in the WBC, but this year it doesn't seem like it's up to me. And Carlos Correa said I talked to him today. He said he's been taking live BPs now for 2 weeks because he was going to be ready earlier to be ready to play in the WBC. These guys wanted to play. These guys wanted to represent their countries, especially Correa, because as you guys know, I think AJ, you'll be here. There's pool play happening at Dyken Park in the WBC. Puerto Rico is not in the pool that's playing at Dyken Park, but if they advance out of their pool, their quarterfinal round is in Houston. So Carlos Correa could have played 14 Puerto Rico in Houston, which would have been a real full circle moment for him and his family. That's something that he did want to do, but just I think as he told me verbatim today, it just didn't seem like a good business decision. He did not want to have that large of a risk going into the WBC without insurance on his contract.
There you go. We talked about it a little bit yesterday, and now you hear it here. Insurance holding back those guys, just like it did for Clayton Kershaw years back. And now Clayton doesn't care because he's retired. So he can hang out with the team, maybe get an appearance or two in there. Huge loss, though, in all seriousness, for the Venezuelan team and then for Team Puerto Rico. Chandler, good catching up with you, as always, man. Crush City territory for everyone, multiple episodes per week, even in the offseason. There you go. It's Chandler, it's Josh Reddick, it's Tyler Stafford. It's the best in the biz, covering the Astros on podcast platforms and digital show on YouTube. part of the FT Network. Thanks, Chandler. Talk to you soon, man.
Thanks, guys.
We're going to bring it right here to the BetMGM Futures current win total for the Astros. Classic. 85.5. Just like the Padres yesterday, Kratz. Wasn't it 85.5 for San Diego?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. This is you first. And do you feel better or worse about whatever selection you make versus yesterday?
I feel worse about this one. I think there's just a lot of, saying that Christian Javier has to slot in behind Hunter Brown, or the fact that he might. What does the industry think? Is he going to be that great? Is that one, his slider from people, from scouts I've talked to that saw him a lot in Japan? The slider's legit. Is he going to be a slider starter? I just feel like there's too many question marks in that rotation for me to supremely say, yes, 86 or more wins is what they're going to get. I think they're good. I don't think they'll be in it. They'll be in it. Let's put it this way. They'll be in it. They showed they can make moves at the break. So that's why I'm fearful of going under. It just feels right on the mark. And I loved my Padres pick yesterday. I do not love this pick, but I'm going to take the over.
Okay. I'm taking under. I'm going under. Just because what did Chandler Rome just give us? A million different what ifs. Well, if this goes good and this goes good, and what if this and this, and we don't know who's playing here, and Altuve has to have a better year, and Cam Smith needs to make the team, and Alvarez needs to stay healthy, and too many ifs for me. I'm going under right now the way they're constructed.
Rangers just got a little better. Mackenzie Gore.
Mariners are there. Rangers are better. I think the A's will be better.
Minus 1 month. And what if the Astros don't hit them in that 1 month, where they seem to struggle every year? Who knows?
It's close.
Too close. Too close to be confident about it for me.
Yeah, I don't know. I'll go slightly under, yeah. But I think this is one where you could get hooked, where they finish at 85 or 86. So, no thanks. Not touching this one. BetMGM players, get yourself a little any sport parlay boost token to score a bigger payout. You can mix and match with some sports in there and then activate the token on your bet slip. And if you win that wager with the token, extra winnings for you. Go check it out. BetMGM.com or on the BetMGM app. Gambling problem or concern? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Yeah, that's what he said.
That's what he said.
That's what he said.
That's what he said. Fascinating story over the weekend from Dan Hayes in The Athletic covering the Twins and their new head honcho. Same last name, different first name. Yes, it's Tom Pohlad these days who is running the Minnesota Twins. And he apparently personally has been calling fans to say, sorry, can you come back and buy season tickets again? I think they're losing many season ticket holders lately. I don't think we need to explain why. And he has been very candid that the Twins tripped over themselves. He said, quote, in a lot of things we tripped over ourselves, and we certainly didn't do a good job communicating what we were going through and what we were trying to accomplish. You take that all together, and it's a recipe for a very challenging time. We're trying to hit the reset button, bring in new energy, different sense of urgency, accountability, blah, blah, blah. They admitted that they blew it. This is the whole thing. This is the whole storyline in one narrative, and we were all over them. They blew it. When they finally made it past a playoff round in 2024, and then after the season, they're like, cutting payroll. Thanks for all the extra money, Minnesota. Cutting payroll. Thanks for the playoff games. They slashed payroll by $30 million, and that was the beginning of the downfall. Of course, it's going to most likely make the team worse. Fans were livid. They were like, cool, we finally built up to this moment, and then they just got punched in the face. And from then on, you had eventually the ownership group looking to sell. They didn't sell. They said, we're keeping the team. We're the best people to keep the team. And here we are now with one of the most pissed off fan bases in all of sports. And they're trying to make up for that right now. Pohlad was very good in this, either interview or with the press, He said most of the fans didn't pick up his call. Some of them didn't believe that he was calling. He acknowledged one fan hung up on him, AJ, 3 times, convinced the phone call was a hoax. It gets better. When he finally convinced the fan via text messages he was, in fact, the new Twins head control owner, chairman, whatever it is, he received an unkind response and a refusal to speak. So it was an I don't believe you, and then finally an I believe you, but I still don't want to talk to you. Your thoughts on the state of the Twins, and I'll throw one more thing in there for you. They talked about how they need a sustainable winner and how 2026 is huge for them. What are you doing this offseason? Not much.
Yeah. Yeah, cool. He called fans trying to get them back. That's cool. He called like 30 or 40 fans that had given up their season tickets. But then I ask you this question. What's the incentive for the fans to come to the games in downtown Minneapolis right now? Because the team's just not – they traded away, 10 guys at the trade deadline last year? And no offense to Victor Caratini and Rogers, but they didn't really bring anybody in. And they're talking about trading Joe Ryan. And Pablo Lopez could be on the block. Byron Buxton's been talked about getting traded. Ryan Jeffers has been – I mean, I know Royce Lewis can be something if he stays healthy, which is one of the biggest ifs ever. What's exciting for the Twins fans to be excited about and want to go to these games? Target Field's awesome. I get all that. But what's the excitement? Where's the, hey, we're trying to show everybody that we're committed. 26 is huge, but we're slashing payroll. I don't know. This just seems like a lot. It just seems like a lot of, I don't even know what to call it. It's just a lot about nothing. It's just a lot about nothing, right? It's cool that he did this, but at the same time, put your money where your mouth is, whatever it is. And we've talked about it on the show too many times, and Aaron Gleeman's talked about it. It just seems like they're waiting for the right opportunity to sell the team.
No doubt. They're definitely going to sell the team. There's no doubt about that. That's why they pulled that off. They cleared some debt. That makes the team more attractive to sell. They acted like it was going to make them do more. They haven't done anything. So you look at a team right now that is going into 2026 almost like a lame duck with an owner, right? You're just waiting for the team to be sold and for a fresh set of decision makers. So I want to do this. We haven't done this in a really long time, and I feel like it's the perfect day for it. A lot of people are cold inside, maybe didn't even go to work today. I would like to resurrect role play. Now, yes, I'm allowing either of you to pick a side. So whoever wants to participate in this, the other person will kind of be with them. We're going to have an owner in Tom Pohlad, who's like the new spokesman in the Pohlad family. And then you'll have a season ticket holder, and maybe it's 2 season ticket holders. So you guys get to pick your roles, and I'll decide based on what you guys pick who I'm going to be a part of.
Season ticket holder. I want to be the season ticket holder because AJ
do
knows
you want to be
Tom
one
personally.
Too? Yeah.
AJ,
do you want to be Tom, or do you want to be on the Tom side or the season ticket holder side? And then I'll decide which side I should be on.
No, I'm out. I want you two to role play, and I'll be the arbitrator.
Can you do like play by play? Okay, cool. So, all right, let's get this rolling here. And the last thing I'll say before we start this is, in the article, they mentioned how there's too much one good year, one bad year, and they want to build a sustainable product, just like every freaking team in baseball. You can't all do that. Not everyone's going to be good every year and bad every year, but they essentially created their own rebuild after they finally cracked a postseason series. So with all of that being said, here we go. I've already gone through multiple calls. Then I texted Kratz, who was a longtime season ticket holder in Minnesota, and he doubled down and bought better seats when they moved into Target Field because they did a great job with that place, and they promised the city and the fans that they would spend more because they would make more, till they rugged everyone. So I finally got a hold of Kratz, and we're on the line right now. Erik, this is Tom Pohlad. Thank you for finally picking up the call. How are you?
Oh, thanks. Thanks for calling. Big Minnesota fan, don't you know?
Wow, this is already off to a nicer start than I anticipated. We'd like you to come back. We'd like you to buy season tickets again. I saw that you canceled last year. Things are going to be different now. Payroll's about the same. We're coming off a bad year. I know we got rid of a third of the team, but Erik, we didn't trade our stars. We're keeping Pablo Lopez for now. We're keeping Joe Ryan for now. Carlos Correa moved on, but that's okay. We'll eventually be able to reinvest that. Did you know that our debt is in better shape than it was?
I didn't even know that you guys had a bag of debt, because it's just one of those things that, as a fan, all I'm really looking for is to watch my team win a bunch of games. And right now I'm doing a lot of ice fishing up in the upper Upers, and there's just really not a lot of baseball in my mind. When it gets sunny, you know what I want to see? I want to see Byron Buxton stay in center field, and I want to see 9 more relievers that you traded away coming in to save the games, because it's one of the nicest stadiums. It's a great environment. We probably should have a roof, but I'm okay with that because Target Field is nice, and we're nice people up here, and we enjoy the city when it's in the summertime, don't you know? Because there's a lot of mosquitoes up here, but right now you feel like a mosquito, and you're biting my fandom right out of me, Tom.
Wow, this is an eloquent and very nice reply from you. First off, I want to say that we are keeping Buxton for now. We kind of tried to trade him, but he didn't want to go, and he's got this no trade clause thing. So we actually can't even trade him if we want to at the moment. Poor guy. Why won't you come back? What do you need us to do differently to convince you to show up here? I'm not like my brother. I'm much more of a go for it guy, and I'm trying to build a sustainable winner here.
I actually have a check right here that I would be willing to write to the team for my season tickets. If you were exactly what you said and actually go for it, you've not only lied to the city, but you also lied to Carlos Correa, who, when he signed here, was one of my favorite signings of all time, and you lied to him and said you would pay more money. You haven't been upfront, so I'll keep my check right here, and I'll go ahead and hunt mosquitoes in the summer instead of going to Minnesota Twins games. Thank you very much, Tom.
Well, mosquitoes don't build a sustainable product. They often die out in the wintertime, but whatever. Anyway, okay, so he hung up. All right, I'm going to hang up, and I'm going to turn to my Twins advisor, AJ Pierzynski. AJ, for the next phone call, what do you think I should do differently? How do I convince these season ticket holders to actually come back when I have nothing to tell them? And this is where I'm coming back to real life for a moment, AJ. What are they saying on the phone? Nothing is changing.
That's exactly right. Hey, please come back because I called you personally. Like, what? I don't know. Listen, the Pohlads have owned the team for a long time, since like the 80s, I believe. And nothing has really changed. Listen, I played there in 98, 99, 2000, 2001, 2000. So 6 years I played in the major leagues in Minnesota. We played in the Metrodome. Their excuse was, we have the Metrodome, we can't spend money. The Metrodome, the Metrodome, Metrodome. We actually drew big crowds in the Metrodome when in 2002, we won the division. 2003, we won the division. The crowds are pretty good. They got 25, 30,000 pretty much every game, even on school nights, and the place was rocking. And they said, what'd they say? Man, as soon as we get into the new stadium, we're really going to go for it. And we're going to throw so much money at this team. And they did. They did a little bit. You know, they signed Joe Mauer. They signed, you know, they did some things. They tried. Never really got over the hump. 22, they finally win the first postseason series since I was there in 2002. And they're like, we're slashing payroll. So if I'm a fan, I'm like, you have told me you're going to spend money. You've told me when they get a new stadium. You told me when they finally win the playoff series. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. And it hasn't gotten any better. Like, kind of like Kratz said in his funny accent, why would I spend my hard-earned money to go watch a product that I know is not going to get any better? You have to do something to prove, and that to the fans, you have to earn their trust. It's like the Pittsburgh Pirates and the Oakland or the Sacramento A's and these other teams, the Miami Marlins. You have to prove that more than 1 year you're actually going to put a good product on the field. And if you do that, you can grow the fan base back and get them excited again. But if you're not, and you're not going to try, fans move on. Attention spans are short in today's world. You know that, Scott. Kratz, you know that. You have kids. Like, the attention span's gone. If you don't do it and you don't make me entertained, I'm out. I'll find somewhere else to go and spend money.
Fans complain about ticket prices going up. Well, good news is, Minnesota Twins fans, your ticket prices are going to go down. And it's not because they cut payroll. It's because people don't want to go there. They had an influx of season ticket holders purchasing tickets when they signed Carlos Correa. Why is that? Because they wanted to come and see him play. Because they had developed intrigue around the fact that Royce Lewis was now coming up, that Byron Buxton was going to stay healthy, and there was, he signed his extension. wow, like this is a team I want to watch on the field. They didn't have to pay any money for their bullpen. They created those dudes. Like they were a destination for guys to come like Correa, who missed out on two large markets, the Mets and the Giants, because of a physical. And the Twins said, yes, we're coming in. And part of that contract, while it wasn't written anywhere, he was told, yes, we're going to spend money to keep putting players around you. That creates so much of an intrigue for fans, which creates demand, which raises ticket prices. When you don't do that, ticket prices plummet because nobody wants to go to the games. So the best way, stop calling people, stop calling ex-fans. While it's a cool idea and it's very nice and it's a great gesture, call free agents. Call people that will bring the fans out to watch them play.
They just said they messed up 2 years ago, but they're doing the same thing. They just said they messed up, and they got an influx of cash. The only thing that's gone up is the franchise value. They were bought in 1984 for $44 million. The team is at least worth 1.5 bill. They just did a raise, right? So they have new minority investors that are part of this group. And the raise, I believe, was valued at 1.75 billion. Just on the 1.5 billion number, which we know they can get because they rejected an ownership group to take over the team for 1.5 bill, that would be a We're back?
We're back.
Yes, we're back. Okay, cool. I'm going to say that last part again. If we're
Just
going off the
remember.
1.5 bill, which is a number that an ownership group would give up this second for the team, they laughed at them because they wanted 1.7 to 75, which they think they're going to get when they vote for a salary cap and the franchise value goes up. 34x return. Not finding 34x returns basically anywhere else in life. 34x return. They have done very well for themselves. They just haven't treated the city that way. What, are you trying to do some math? If you can get 3,400% on any investments right now, Kratz?
Since 1980, what? I mean, 34x. No, you're not finding that unless it's crypto year to year. But what year did they buy it?
1984.
So in that time, you are going to get your value of an investment is going to go up over 42 years.
Not at that rate, though.
Not at 34 times.
Also, let's not forget the Pohlads have many other businesses. I mean, I remember when I was playing there, they sold like a Pepsi distributorship or something for $300 million or some crazy amount, $400 million. And they're like, oh, we can't put $5 million to buy the team fleeces. You have to buy your own fleeces, team, because we can't afford it. And we're all like, wait, what?
It's true. And we are going to be accused of how small market players always are looking for more money. It's just about bringing it, because this conversation is all about bringing season ticket holders back. Create intrigue around your team. Don't create question marks of whether your ownership group cares about winning or not.
Thank you. And we hang up the phone. Let's slap. Some news. Aaron Sanchez signed a minor league contract. Do you guys remember Aaron Sanchez? Kratz, you do. Former teammate alert. He's going to try to crack camp with the Royals, and we're going to try to get him on the show. I was actually sending messages to him back and forth this morning, and he says hello and he loves you. That's a serious line back from him. So he was a little busy. It was actually a back and forth today. Clearly he was a little busy. He's just signed a minor league contract today with Kansas City, but we'll try to get him on the show. Man, he was good for a minute.
He was very good.
He was
very good. Prospect, later pick. I want to do more research, but I think there's a crazy story about how the Blue Jays actually got that pick. But I have to confirm it before I tell the story. It's nothing about him. It's more how the Blue Jays just canoodled the system. But yeah, great teammate. Him and Stroman came up right around the same time, and I got to see them both in the minor leagues, AAA together. And, we had a lot of really, really fun conversations when you're at the end of your career and someone is just starting the new part of their career or their new career in the big leagues.
Very cool. And then also Dave Roberts wants to coach Team USA, not in the World Baseball Classic. They already have a manager. He wants to coach them, manage them in 2028 at Dodger Stadium at the Olympics. So
Wait,
he's
what?
already thrown his hat in.
Wait, how's that? How would that happen?
You're saying because they haven't been approved yet?
Wait, you're going to have big league players? You're going to have a big league manager, but no big league players?
Well, if it happens. I think it's going to happen. I think it's going to happen.
Yes, it's going to happen.
Yes. So good for Dave. Kratz Hatz on the way out.
I mean, we had Nolan on. I had to make sure he knew what new colors he's got to put in his cleats. And Nolan, if you're still listening, you're not that old. You're not that old. And if you keep telling yourself you're old, you can put these kinds of colors on your cleats. Drip it up. Get some super drip.
Team Poland, if you'd like to participate.
Never stop dripping.
In the World Baseball.
Never stop dripping, by the way. Never have too much.
Poland, if you want to
AJ's
participate
dripping.
in the Olympics for baseball, AJ's phone is tough to reach, but he will do it. He will do it. Right?
I'll try.
I don't think
I can connect you with the correct people. I'll say that. I'm a connector.
Okay. The call is
You'd
out
have the
there.
most
See you
fun.
tomorrow.